Welcome back to Creative Thinkers. My name is Miguel Valenzuela, and today we have two special guests, Daniel and Diana Ordonez. We have some great artists, so let's talk to them. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
Absolutely, our pleasure. So we're excited to hear a little bit about you guys. Let's start with if you guys are from El Paso. Are you guys local? Did you guys move here?
I moved here. I'm not from El Paso. I'm originally from a small town, South Texas, called Carrizo Springs. Nothing there. I moved here when I was 20. I loved it. I unfortunately had to move away for a little while to take care of, help my mom out.
Right.
But when that was all done, I'm going back to El Paso. I love this city. I really like living here. I do really like living here.
What is it that you like about El Paso?
Just the energy, the people. Pretty much everybody's friendly. There's always something to do. I like that there is, an artistic culture and artistic scene here. And overall, I love the atmosphere. I think it's a perfect sized city. There's always something going on. What more can I ask for?
And like you said, energy. Are you from El Paso?
Yes, I was born here, and I've moved around a lot. But there's always been this thing where I'm like, I have to go back to El Paso. That's where I was born. That's my hometown. And since I'm growing up and everything, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay here. As when I used to just follow my mom everywhere, but finally I was just like, you know what? I'm old enough. I can make my own decisions now. Right. I'm staying here at home. And
here in El Paso, yes. That's exactly right. Growing up, and that's one of the things that I try to kind of involve all of our guests with, is what were your influences growing up? Were you guys inspired by cartoons? Were you inspired by an individual who taught you guys how to do these marvelous things that you're going to show us?
I'm glad you asked that. To be honest with you, the way I grew up, it's kind of the middle kid, so not really much attention was paid towards me. And growing up in a small town full of rodeos and stuff, and then being an artist, there's not really many things. I'm the odd man out, right. The weird guy.
Right.
So I wasn't really invited to parties, didn't really want to go either. And so I spent a lot of time watching TV and watching late night TV, watching monster movies, reading comic books. My uncles actually were really inadvertent influence on me.
In which way?
Well, I didn't spend a lot of time with them, but for example, I'd go over to my grandmother's house and someone would be playing Black Sabbath or Motley Crue, right. And then another uncle of mine would be drawing or reading comics, and then another uncle of mine is playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then another uncle of mine is practicing karate and, trying to play guitar.
So there was always these influences of creativity within that environment.
Yeah, and though I was too small to be like, hey, what are you doing? Seeing all this around, I'm sure it obviously influenced me because those are all the stuff, that's all the stuff I'm into. So,
And what about influences from you?
Honestly, I was an only child. So
very different dynamic.
Yeah, I was an only child, and I was always kind of introverted.
Right.
So that's really changed as I got older, but I was always really introverted, and all I really had was my mom. It was just me and my mom all the time, and I can't really say that there was a specific person that influenced me or anything like that. It was just more about the things that I liked. I liked a lot of 80s cultures, and I liked their crazy outlandish outfits like Cyndi Lauper or Annie Lennox, and I like all the colors all the colors that they wore, and just the different things that these different types of ladies were doing, and cartoons like Jem and the Holograms and stuff like that, all the dynamic colors, and that's I think that's what really influenced me. Is I never I would say that I would thank my mom for pushing me into the creative
In
ways.
Which way?
I guess I was always a really hyper kid, so she was always trying to find ways to get me to calm down a little bit. And she started seeing
Did she give you crayons and
she
pencils?
gave me crayons and stuff like that, and she's like, you know what? I see that I think you like that stuff. So here, do something. Okay, so I started, doing something. She helped me here and there, but for the most part, it was just things around me, music, I guess a little bit of cartoons, just different types of colors like that, different, again, things like from the 80s. I'm very, very drawn to that era. And,
so do you think that it was something that's kind of inherently in you? It's part of who you were, even from when you were born?
Yeah, I think it's just something, I really can't say what really sparked it. And the only thing I can really say is that, like, I'm really thankful for my mom for, like, pushing me, and she saw that kind of, like, interest in that type of, the possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really say that there was, like, a specific person that, like, sat down with me and, like, taught me anything.
So both of you guys have moved around, but you said that you've traveled a lot. Give us some examples on how that has influenced who you are, who you have become.
Well, I've lived in Arizona, I've lived in California, I've lived in Colorado, and I guess, quite frankly, moving around so much, yeah, I guess I did. There was a time where I'm, like, questioning. I guess everybody does that when they're growing up, like, who am I, you know?
Right.
But seeing so many different people, so many, especially like in California, we lived in San Jose,
Mm-hmm.
we lived in Escondido, we lived by Oceanside. And there's just so many types of people and different races, different people of different walks of life.
Right.
And I guess it's just taking all of that and just putting it into art. Because I've never been really good with words or anything like that. So I guess I put everything that, like, I would be feeling or thinking and put it into art. And I think that's what really pushed me into just sights, people that I see, the way that I'd like to express myself, an abstract thought that I'd rather draw than
Yes, I think that's
talk.
a good way to explain it. The concepts that you've come up with here, because these are very, very interesting, did you guys always, Daniel, or did you guys begin by making these puppets? Because that's basically what you're showing us here. Lots of creativity, but lots of puppets.
Well, the way I started off doing things is, as a kid, I always played with clay. It's, cheap. It's there. I always had
It's
crayons.
malleable. You can turn it into stuff, right?
Yeah, but I gotta say, I didn't really put as much into it, because the thing that really bugged me about it was the fact that, okay, I'm gonna make something out of modeling clay, and then, great, I'm gonna put it on my shelf, move stuff around, it falls, and then it goes splat on the floor.
Right.
So, being in a small town where there weren't art stores, I couldn't buy, bakeable clay or anything like that, I turned to drawing. And so for the maybe next 20 years, I just drew all the time. I even, was trying to make, I'd fill my room with my own posters, because I couldn't, small town, I couldn't
buy posters.
Right. So, you know what, I'm going to draw a big Marilyn Manson and put that right over my bed and freak my mom out. So,
so part of it was the rebellious aspect.
Part of it. Well, as soon as I became a teenager, but then I actually was quite good at drawing. I mean, I've drawn forever, and it got to a point where I was in school and everybody was asking me to make drawings for them.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, it was cool. And I'm an artist. I just sold a little drawing for, $10. And then, hey,
that's gotta put some drive into
it's
you, I think,
awesome.
right?
It's really cool, but at the same time, it's like, okay, guys, I want to do my own artwork. I don't just want to do this for other people. So
like portraits and whatnot?
Yeah, actually, I'm more into doing portraits, and as I've gotten older, I've done landscapes and things like that. But I purposely started drawing bad so people would quit asking me to draw them stuff. Yeah, and I think after a while, people forgot that I did artwork. But when I moved to El Paso, because I was stuck in a small town for a long time, but when I moved to El Paso, I got Michael's, you got, all sorts of art supply stores, and, walking in there is like, to me, walking into, I don't know, maybe a guy walking into his favorite, football game event or a car dealership or something. I'm like, oh man, look at all the supplies. I can finally make stuff that I can bake and last and won't smash. So as soon as I got access to that, I mean, I've just been building and building and building things. And as far as puppets go, I remember I got contacted by an old friend, someone I didn't even really remember too much over Facebook, and he this was a year ago.
Puppets?
Oh, this was I was in the middle of making these because I've been doing these for about 4 or 5 years, but I had totally forgot about this. And he mentioned, "Hey, do you remember that time you came over to my house and you brought over that ventriloquist dummy that you built?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I totally forgot about that."
And this is in your old town?
This is in my hometown. I was probably in like 6th or 7th grade at the time, but I was always trying to build puppets and build figures and toys. And I mean, paper mache is a great medium, but it's frustrating for me to work with. I mean, one thing I could definitely tell people is that I don't just sit down and start making these and then it's perfect. There's a lot of trial and error, you know, or something that just, okay, everything is proportioned, looks good, but there's something missing, something, you know, I'm gonna have to look back at that and change that up. But
and at that point, do you leave it alone and then come back 6 months later and work on other things, or what do you do?
Cool that you mentioned that. Actually, there's that little devil guy right there. He's a good example of that. I had sculpted him one day, and then I kind of just, you know, I live in a small, very tiny house. Everything's kind of tucked away, so I kind of tucked him away and forgot about him. And then about 6 months later, I'm going through stuff, trying to clean up, and I'm like, "Hey, I remember you."
About him?
Yeah, I completely forgot about him, and I was like, "Hey, guy, you need a body. You need clothes."
Also,
I gotta finish building that guy. Yeah, I just had built him, you know, just the head at the time. I had already built some, you know, him and some of these guys already, but I had totally forgotten about him because there was just, I didn't know what to do with his hair, and you know, I didn't know what kind of outfit to give him or anything like that. So, yeah, and then other projects like this little guy right here,
the little green guy,
or him, the sandworm. I had such a drive and such a clear what I wanted that I just busted that out in like a week. You know.
Wow, I can't believe you made that in a week.
Yeah.
That's
Actually, there's sometimes when I will not purposely, but I will burn myself out because it's like, oh, okay, I got this idea. I got to get it down before, you know, I forget about it. Oh, man, I have another idea. Oh, I better build it real quick because if I don't build it right now, I'm not going to build it later. You know, I'm going to forget about it or, you know, find flaws with the idea. And so, you know, there's times when, you know, I'll just work on one thing. Maybe I won't work on anything at all. Or it's like,
because you have to give yourself time to rest as well.
Yeah.
When you rest, do you pick up whatever he's kind of on that direction?
Honestly, only if it comes to like the clothes.
Okay.
Because
so is that your focus then?
Sometimes, because I did go to school for a little bit of fashion design.
Okay. So they taught you how to sew and whatnot?
No, actually.
No, really?
No, actually, I've been sewing since I can remember. Because my grandma, I guess in that part, my grandma had a lot to do with the sewing.
But I'm sure she wasn't sewing puppet clothes. No,
she would show me just, you know, regular human clothes or some doll clothes. But I guess it was her that like really, or just watching her, just like sewing all the time. Because yeah, like sewing's always been something that I've always done, and it's something that I eventually wanted to pursue. I wanted to, I still would like to pursue something in like fashion design because that's always something that's really spoken to me.
Yeah, and I think that just the detail and the quality of the work shows the ability that you have. And I think it shows the ability with both of you guys have. So how did you guys go from the 2D imagery to 3D objects? Because I know that that's kind of a stretch for some people. When I studied art, my focus when I was an undergrad was in sculpture, but then I switched when I went to graduate school to two-dimensional. So I kind of put my hands in both pots, if you may. Yeah. But for you guys going from 2D into 3D, I think it's a little bit more difficult. How did you guys find it to be?
Um, well, like I mentioned earlier, I always wanted to make figures and puppets and things, but the only resources I had was paper, just paper and pencil, which there's nothing wrong with. Obviously, my wife is amazing, I think, at what she does at doing this. But once I got that, brick of clay, and I had my idea, I just sculpted my first little face, baked it, and then as soon as it came out of the oven, I was like, this is durable. I mean, it's not metal. I'm not going to throw it up against the brick wall,
Right.
but cool. You need a body. I can do a bunch of these. And then actually that's even gotten me into basically with cloth puppets, Muppet style puppets. Because I mean, making a ventriloquist dummy or making a marionette, I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, if you're, a sculptor, if you're into making it like that. But when it comes to cloth puppets, Muppet style puppets, I mean, there's, building the underskeleton, which is just basically the mechanism for your hand, the frame. Then I've learned a lot of sewing from my wife because, you gotta cut the fabric in a certain way. You gotta, pull it in a certain way, glue it down in certain places. And sometimes not every idea works. I mean, there's
true.
I mean, I
Trial
can't,
and error, I think.
yeah, I mean, it's not like I can go down to, Jim Henson's Creature Shop and be like, hey guys, can you show me how to do a few things? So, I mean, in fact, when it comes to making puppets and figures, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, self-taught. I mean, yeah, you can watch
Yeah, that's
videos
another
and stuff,
question
but
that I had. When you run into an issue where you're not sure where to go, our videos, is educating yourself an important aspect of how you can bring that to fruition?
yes, yes, yes,
How has it
yes.
helped?
Well, it's helped in a lot of different ways. I can't pinpoint anything, but I can definitely say, you know what? Let's say I'm trying to build not a figure, but maybe a little stand or something like that.
Right.
Well, getting textures down and go on YouTube, DIY model building or DIY, mouth mechanisms or eye mechanisms,
Right.
and thinking, you know what? Okay, checking the video out. Hey, I didn't know that. Cool, I'm going to use that. Or, you know what? He's doing the same thing I thought of. You know what? I'm on the right track. I'm just going to go for it. And I got to say, I mean, it doesn't work out, 100% of the time.
Right.
But, I mean, the more you do it, the more you keep going. I mean, you're going to build your skills and you know what works for you, what doesn't, what you want to do, what you like to do. Because, I mean, there's different techniques for doing everything, but it's just whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works for you. Because, I mean, what may seem simple for someone else to do is probably going to be really hard for another person to do. I mean, I've been doing these figures for a long time, for a few years already, and it's brought me a lot of joy. And one thing I can say that's different with drawing compared to doing these, to your question earlier, is take one of these portraits my wife did, for example.
Yeah, let's talk about Annie Lennox.
One day, oh, I'm just gonna, I want to do a portrait of Annie Lennox.
do that in
Okay,
one
cool.
Yeah.
And in one day,
Jeez.
that would take me a week.
Yeah.
Like I can, I draw, I can do stuff, but I'm faster with this. That in a day?
Gosh, yeah, that's impressive.
Wow. I mean, I gotta say, I mean, one of the things I like the most about my wife is she's really creative, she's really driven, and to do something like that in one day with all the colors, all the shadows, everything, I think is amazing.
What impresses me is the texture on the hair and
Yeah.
the coat.
Very beautiful.
Now, did you guys go to school to learn this? I mean, I've never heard of a puppet school.
Like I said, I mean, if anything, as far as doing puppets and dolls, just watching the special features on any horror movie I could find, Dark Crystal Labyrinth, any Jim Henson production, just, oh, cool. That was the awesome thing about DVDs is when those started breaking up, because they had tons of special features.
Oh, those excerpts? that they
Yeah,
had?
yeah. And
that's
then
true.
when it came to doing the special effects, it's not like, you know, back in the day in the 90s when, oh, maybe there would be a TV special and maybe I could catch something, but, you know, maybe I can record it, maybe not, who knows, and then try and learn from it. But yeah, it's I'm sorry, I lost track of what I was saying.
No worries. We can move on to something else. We were talking about how the exceptional line work in this particular piece of Annie Lennox. How does one get to the point where they can draw something like that in one day? It's incredible.
I think
Super
you
detailed.
have to. For me, I like to pick dynamic pictures with like very bright colors. I'm very, very drawn to bright colors, obviously. I like to pick pictures like that that are gonna inspire me in that way of like a lot of colors, and I like to pick pictures that I would say like, you know what, this would make a really good portrait. And it's more like a planning like, okay, if I do it like this, and so it's just a little bit of planning before actually getting down to it. So by the time that I actually get down to sit down and do it, I already know where I'm going with it. I already know that, for instance, this Annie Lennox, it's like 3 pictures combined.
Oh, really?
So like her expression is one picture, her hair color is another one.
Okay.
Her coat is another picture. So I decided that I wanted to put all those things together into one. And so since, again, I had already been planning what I wanted to do, I think it's important to plan so that when you sit down and you're actually there and doing it, you already know what to do. You just sit there and knock it out.
Right. Because it has a lot of detail. Like I said, I'm very impressed with the texture and the hair. My daughter, gosh, a week ago, did a self-portrait. She's 13. I think she did an exceptional job, but again, she's 13, so she did the best that she could. But in this one, just the line work that I see, it feels like you have a lot of experience doing this. Is this something that you've really pushed yourself to get really good at, or it's something that you kind of just had running through your blood?
I think it's a bit of both. I could say years and years back, I had tried to do portraits. And they were like,
you've mastered it.
Black and gray. Thank you. I tried the black and gray, and I figured like that doesn't really speak to me. For some reason, I can't really do this portrait in black and gray like that. What can I do? And I'm like, I should really try and do portraits in color.
Did that really open up a new avenue
for
you?
Yeah. And also,
I think it's harder. For you, it became easier.
Yeah, it is a lot easier. It's just a lot easier to blend colors. And also because at the time, I was getting into tattooing. So I thought, like, you know what? A tattoo artist that can do all types of work and portraits is worth a lot more than a tattoo artist that just does one type of style.
Line drawing.
So I was like, I need to knock this out. I need to really, not only that, I'd like to draw people that inspire me. And so I went for it. And I can't say that, obviously, you know, I'm going to sit down today and it was perfect. I think my first one that I ever tried was Marilyn Monroe. And,
full color.
And it's there. It's not that great, but but over time, you know, just picking different pictures, making sure that I pick dynamic pictures with dynamic colors in them, I think really inspires me. Like to choose something that really inspires me and really pops.
You know, one thing that you mentioned is color, and I see color in everything that you guys do. Why is that important? Is it something that really fills you with life, I guess, to a certain degree, and that's kind of what catapults you into creating these things?
I would say so. I would think that, for instance, I tend to dress a lot in black, mostly black, but whenever I draw something, it happens to be very bright. And I think that mostly really represents the life that is inside of me. And since I have a lot of, I do believe a lot in, you know, every color has a different meaning. And,
of course.
and energy. So I tried to put that into my work.
Yeah, it really does look like you do that, especially in the Annie Lennox. Well, the other ones as well, I think. So you guys have some big plans in the future. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the puppets and possibly show that you're trying to put together.
Well, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to put together a puppet show. I have been going through different mediums, trying to find the right kind of puppets, the right kind of material, because everything has a drawback. I mean, honestly, marionettes are great. They look beautiful, but you can't really get them to do everything. Muppet-style cloth puppets are really great, but it is very, very time-consuming to make them.
Just all the material, cutting all of
Yeah,
that, right?
cutting, sewing, gluing. If you want anything special for it or a certain, type of face, shape, or anything, I mean, you have to pre-build, all that before you put the skin, the fabric on them.
Correct.
And but one thing that I'm trying to do is a little puppet show called Teravision, which has a wraparound, basically a wraparound plot of. Let me put it to you like this. If you're going to watch it, you turn it on. It starts with Teravision, the main wraparound segment. Mm-hmm. But one thing I've always liked is with, Monty Python, how kind of different segments segue into different sketches.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of want to base it around TV. That way, if I have, a sudden idea, then, hey, just put in some white static, a channel click, and boom, all of a sudden you're seeing a really funny documentary. It got to its main point. Cool, let's switch to a parody of an infomercial. And then, okay, now let's go back to the wraparound story. Let's see what's happening in the horror, part,
So it's almost going to be like a channel. Where you can channel surf and see different things.
Yeah, the show would be a channel surf, basically, but all puppets, all everything, and then just whatever ideas I can come up with. I mean, I got a lot of little bits and skits that I write down or have always been wrapped around in my head. So, I think it's going to be a great way to basically
bring
just
something new to the viewer, right?
Yeah, and just have a whole lot of ideas in one 25-minute little show.
So speaking of 25 minutes, we're almost out of time.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, really.
Oh, okay.
It goes by very quickly. How can people get a hold of you? Do you guys have an Instagram or a Facebook?
Oh, well, I'm off of Instagram and Facebook right now. Yeah, I'm just trying to concentrate on this. But if you would like to message me on Instagram, it's Danny.Daniello. That's how you could find me. Send me a message. I do commissions sometimes. But that's always a great way to reach me through there. And
I do have a Facebook. I'm under Diana Ordonez. I also do have an Instagram. My Instagram is Itchy Britches Fiddly Digits.
Nice. I like that. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for coming and taking your time out to visit with us for 28 minutes. But our time is up. So I wanted to thank the viewers also for coming to our show, Creative Thinkers, and for watching. We'll see you guys next time.